Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Evolve with Emily show. I'm your host, Emily Hayden, and you are joining me for another episode of Girl Talk. This is the second episode of Girl Talk that I'm doing. It's where I get a few girlfriends of mine and we discuss all things girl. So today I am joined by two of my friends. The first one is Samantha. She is a 6'1" national bikini competitor. She is a sponsored athlete. She is a registered nurse, and she is a Gold's Gym regular. Her and I first became training partners at Gold's Gym Venice, and we've developed a really beautiful friendship since then. So Samantha, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Of course. We're so excited to have you on today. And our second guest is Danielle. She is also a nationally qualified competitor. She's actually my trainer, who you guys know, Doug. It's his girlfriend, who we talked about in the last episode with Doug. So make sure you guys go and watch that interview. She's also a registered nurse. She's in the healthcare, and she is like one of the sweetest souls. So I am really excited to have you on. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Of course. So today I asked for questions on my Instagram, and a lot of the questions were surrounding, positive mindset and mental health, and, the two things that I think really make you guys who you are. Because, okay, for example, and I know Danielle will agree with me on this, that Samantha is like this bright, shining sunshine.
Yes.
And, like in every single room, she walks in and it doesn't matter what's going on. She's so happy that like you think she's joking, or that you think that she's, maybe even if you don't know her, you might think that she's faking it until you know her long enough. And you're like, wow, this woman is just, she always puts a positive spin on everything.
Yes.
Right?
Aw, thanks, guys.
Yes.
I got you fooled, but okay.
I mean, honestly, okay, it's kind of like relationships. You can only keep something up for so long.
It's true.
I've known you longer than that.
Okay.
Yeah,
fair.
no.
I
You're
will give you
amazing.
that. I'll give you that.
She's like, you're doing great. See what I mean? And I was actually just telling Doug in the episode I did with him that you're the kind of person that I feel like sometimes you can be a little bit more quiet, but when you do open your mouth, I'm like, it's so deep and it's so good and it's so just like, I'm like, girl.
You're
Yeah,
so
I feel like she saves them up, and then it's like this little gem that we all get blessed with from Danielle, and you're like, really? That was going on in there? Like, where did that come from? But it's the best because it's always unexpected and like very on point.
Thank
so.
you guys. That's so sweet.
Yeah, of course. So, okay, I want to hear just how are you guys doing? You're both in healthcare. What are your jobs like? You guys both sigh.
Really? You wanna go there?
The energy just changed. Okay, who wants to go first?
You go first.
I will. So I am a registered nurse, but I actually work in case management. So it's kind of all of the discharge planning. So I work for UCLA Hospital, and it's been tough during this whole COVID time, just because I'm the one kind of dealing with all of the discharges for our patients. And so sending everyone out into the community, it's just a lot of bottleneck. Like, people are not getting discharged on time. There's a lot of fear surrounding all those things. So like, it's just making my job a lot more challenging. Definitely grateful. I've been working from home for the last few months, which has been really nice, but just apprehensive too to be going back into work. And I'm not really sure what that's going to look like when we'll get there. But it's also hard too, just being in a healthcare setting and then kind of knowing what's really happening at the hospital, and then also what's being portrayed in the media, and, having those conversations with friends and family and stuff, and just walking the line of like, how much do I share when I know what's really happening at the hospital? How much do I speak up? Or do I just bite my tongue and let people watch CNN and go from there? So that's definitely been a struggle the last few months, like just trying to sort out what's appropriate to share in that regard.
Okay, well, for me, it's I'm an ICU nurse. I also work at a couple different floors that are step downs of ICU, and it's complete chaos. Especially with the pandemic, things have changed, and I just see things kind of going downhill. But within all of this, I have finally found, I feel like, a balance and some sort of peace. And I've worked really, really hard, and I'm transitioning in the next month or two into a per diem position so that I can have more time to step away from that, because it's a little exhausting, and some of the people that I work with have been doing it for years, and I just kind of see where their energy is, and I don't want to be like that.
So How do you preserve or protect your energy when you are such like a positive, good person? And how do you deal with being like in a toxic work environment?
I pray. I pray.
Oh wow.
I pray a lot. I pray on my way to work. I pray in the bathroom. I pray all day long. I pray.
Wow.
I really do. And I know that sounds crazy, but it really is how I get through my day and how I even start my day, especially when I'm going to work. And the system is weird because like you think that you're when you go to the hospital, like a lot of patients will think like that they're protected and safe, but really sometimes you're not. And like I go out of my way, I feel like, to make sure that I can at least do that when I'm there. So I don't know what's going on when I'm not there, but I do my all when I am there, and it is exhausting. So when I get home, I make sure that I have my time to myself before I go to bed or whatever. I have my things that I do to kind of just keep myself at peace, but mainly I pray.
Yeah. Well, let's get into that for both of you. What are some things that you guys do every day? Maybe it's like a morning routine, or maybe it's just some ingredients to your life that you can't go without. What does that look like for each of you?
I start my day. I have the little Jesus Calling book, and I start my day and I read that every morning and just journal a little bit with that.
What do you journal about, or like how do you journal?
Just anything that like resonated with me, just from that passage that day or anything. And I always like to just do a gratitude list, just a couple things, just because, especially with so much going on, just kind of brings things back into perspective again. And definitely like kind of a little bit before pandemic all started, but definitely during this whole time, I've really been working on a meditation practice. So I'm doing that kind of as part of my morning routine.
What does that look like for you? Do you use an app? Do you do it yourself?
Yeah. So I actually started out initially, before everything closed down, I was going to a studio, and they have classes there there's actually a live instructor, and they kind of do a guided meditation. And I tried to meditate on my own before, and I was just like, I don't understand this. Like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand not thinking. Like, this is so hard. So once I actually started going to the classes, and I realized that, like, it's not about really just not thinking about anything. It's just accepting the thoughts and letting things flow through you, and kind of going that way. And that was kind of what I learned in the classes. And since then, the studio is actually offering like virtual Zoom classes you can do. But
cool.
so I'm doing that a little bit, but mostly I've kind of just, there's different apps, and now it's progressed to where in the mornings it's part of my routine, and I'm just doing it on my own with a little music, 15, 20 minutes, but just
oh my God, that sounds so long to me to meditate for 15 to 20 minutes.
I feel like it takes me half the time even to like get to that space for myself.
Yeah.
So I kind of think that's why it's been. So I'm like half of the time I'm wandering, and then I finally get to the meditation spot. So I'll start my mornings. I do read my Jesus Calling. I'll journal a little bit, and then I do my meditation. And that's really like how I start all of my days. It just kind of helps me get in the right mindset for the day, and just like wake up fresh and kind of go from there. So that's definitely something that's been like solidified during this pandemic, that like I need all of those things in order to like be my best self and like deal with all the hectic stuff at work.
And what about you? What are some things that you do every day?
I don't meditate. I really should. But I kind of, when I wake up, I just hit the ground running, and then like, I guess on my way, I guess my place is in the car. I never really thought about that.
Yeah.
But like when I'm in my car is when I finally have the moment to just kind of think or unwind or whatever it is. But until then, like I'm pretty focused on getting myself together and out the door or whatever. But I guess like on a day off where I don't have to do all of those things in the morning or whatever, a hard schedule, I would say I get up, I hang out with my little puppies.
Frank and Beans.
A hug from them is like, it goes a long way.
It goes a long way. I know the feeling. And we're all dog people here.
Yes, we are.
Don't tell Doug, but like I like going to Starbucks.
Oh,
even though we've already
Doug.
made coffee. And like we make sure to have coffee at the house. But yet I still like to go on that run to Starbucks. It's probably the car, like I said.
Oh, yeah.
I finally just get to like
quiet space.
Yeah. And I like it's just being up really early. I really like to get up really early. You just have like the whole city to yourself. It's really nice. And just going outside and like you're alone. Like it's really nice. It's quiet.
Yeah, I was just telling someone that the other day. I was like, I don't like waking up early just for no reason. Like, there's something so peaceful about it, especially us living in LA, because there are hardly moments of like
exactly.
quiet and
No.
peace.
It feels like between the 5 a.m. to 8 a.m., it literally feels like you're in a different city.
It's a different
And
world.
it's the best feeling during that
Yes.
time. It's just like,
It's
there's
yours.
more peace. It's yours. You literally drive down the Ocean Avenue and you're like, this is my city now.
It's
And
all
you
yours.
like have this, it's not the stress of all of the traffic and all the people and just like hustle and bustle of the city, but like, it's so much more peaceful. So I'm definitely a morning person too. So I know for me, like that, I need if I start my day too late and I've like slept through my alarm or I just get caught up doing something, I get anxiety. So I know if it's a work day or a regular day or weekend, whatever, I'm still always up early. And it's like I like the LA morning time, but that also I realize really helps with my mindset too, just like starting my day the same and being consistent on a day-to-day basis regardless of my schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, for me, my morning routine is essential as well. But there are some days where like maybe I, went to bed too late, had to sleep a little bit later, and I just had to like hit the ground running as soon as I get going throughout the day. So what I do is I don't really focus too much on having like a set morning routine, because once you like assign it this defined morning routine,
I'd get anxiety like if I was late or if I didn't have the 15 minutes, I'd be like, oh my god,
or I skipped my morning routine.
but then again, if I was consistent with it, I could see how that would be like really beneficial and a great way to start your day.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly. Well, and so I just
not that
allow
person.
myself to have flexibility with it, so that let's say if it doesn't happen, maybe I crush like 3-4 hours of work, and then I'm like, okay, stop. Now you're gonna do your morning routine.
Okay.
Everybody can wait, and I'll do like even like 10 minutes, even just 10 minutes of doing my morning routine things, even if I don't do them all like the longest and best way, just a little bit of it. And I think it's so important more now than ever to understand what those ingredients are in your life, so that these are the things that make me my best self. These are the things that help me not have anxiety, not feel depressed, or maybe just like they just help those things a little bit more rather than living in those anxious or sometimes depressed type of feelings.
Totally.
So okay, Sam, you are one of the most positive people ever. How do you do that? Like, even because we're training partners and I just allow myself to feel whatever I'm feeling at the gym, right? So like the gym is actually my place to feel those things. But so for me, I'll go in there, and if I'm in a mood,
we know.
Yeah.
You guys just can see it. You've seen it.
I've seen it.
You've seen it when I'm with Doug. Yeah. And you're like, okay, bye.
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Like that's why I'm there. I work through those things there. But no matter what, you can have like the world on fire behind you, and you're like, so what are we training today? So like, Jen, how?
Because I feel like I guess I feel like just things in my past and my job right now, like the world can be on fire back here, but that doesn't mean that like I don't still have a job to do. And like, especially when it comes to my nursing stuff and case management, like I guess everyone's upset. Like there's an emergency. Someone could be dying, right? And I'm like arranging hospice or doing those things. And I'm the one who's supposed to come in as like the strong voice and have everyone together and keep things organized. So that's definitely, that mentality is something that makes me good at my job, but it's also something I recognize that I like carry into everything
Friendships
else
and stuff.
Yeah. So training, friendships, like just daily life, like just because like I'm having a bad day doesn't mean that the situation is going to change. Like I'm still stuck in it. Right. So definitely for me, I guess mindset is like, if I'm pouting about this and super worried about it, anxious about it, like, is that solving the problem? Not really. Is it making anything better? Not really. It's just holding me back. So I definitely like have this mindset, like if it's cloudy outside, you create your own sunshine, you do these things for yourself. And like that is totally, that is definitely like, that is out of all the little silly quotes, like create your own sunshine is something that resonates with me so much, because I just feel like if everyone else wants to be pouty and there's not just negative energy around you, like you can be the voice that comes in and changes it. And like, that's definitely something I feel like just in my past with my career and my athletic background, that has been something that I've always kind of done. So I just kind of
So true.
Yeah.
I'm here for that.
I love that. And, it's funny, whenever this whole
I'm here for that.
I love that. And, whenever this whole like pandemic thing happened, I recently made some new friends, Shane and Kat. You guys have probably seen them on my Instagram and stuff before. But during the pandemic, we were just like Instagram friends. So we just knew each other through social media. And basically, the whole world's on fire. The whole world is freaking out. And yet they're online and they're like laughing and dancing and doing these cute little things together. And I'm like, man, that's exactly what I want. I want someone that can see the world on fire, see the thunderstorms outside, and is like, hey, you want to go run in the rain? Yeah, man, I do actually. Thank you for asking. So I agree with that. Like the whole create your own sunshine thing. Like I think it's really just being able to accept whatever's happening, like to really be an acceptance, because when you're not accepting of the reality around you, that's when you're in resistance. That's when you're in that negative headspace and that hopeless headspace. Whereas if you just say, it is what it is,
and just go with it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like so often people don't want to have these negative feelings. They want to push these things away, not deal with them. But like, the only way that you're ever going to navigate to somewhere better is if you figure out where you are right now. Right. And like, you can't do that unless you're feeling all the feels and like sitting in that moment for yourself. So I think that's kind of, you have to go through the bad stuff and be able to get through it and stay positive, because that's like ultimately where the growth is going to happen.
100%.
Where you're going to get someplace better in your life,
You have to process it.
Yeah, exactly. What are some ways that you allow yourself to process your emotions? Like when you're really feeling emotions and you're like, okay, I can't just positive think my way out of this. Like, how do you deal with those like heavy emotions?
I mean, I still struggle with that a lot, honestly. And I'm really working hard on doing kind of like what you said, just creating your own sunshine in those moments, because you really do spread that energy around you, and it can change the situation sometimes, but depending on whatever is going on. But yeah, no, I struggle with that, honestly.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Everyone has to figure out their own way of processing their emotions. I
actually caught myself the other day at work, and it's something I've been praying really hard on, is that the moment before, like, you lose your mind or whatever, like to be aware that moment before, so that you can change whatever you're doing and not do what you usually do.
Yeah.
And then be in that moment, like, where you're like, damn it, I did it again. And I didn't even think of it. And I actually had the moment where it was right before, and I was like, well, what good is freaking out about this gonna do? And I just went and handled my shit, and it was like really not a big deal.
Yeah, good job.
But like, it was a bit, but the big deal
huge.
was that moment right before, which I had like, it's huge.
Yeah, it's hard. But I think what you're talking about is becoming very self-aware, to be self-aware of what's going on, what's about to happen, how you normally respond. It's kind of like when you start going down this journey of personal development, and personal development is really just aiming to be a better version of yourself, because we all, no matter where we're at in our journey, we all have room to grow. We all have so much improvement that we can make if we choose to. So I love that you're being so open and vulnerable about the fact that you're going down that path in this area.
That was like yesterday.
Oh, yeah. That's perfect. And like, that's, we may be talking about this subject, but if we bring up another subject, that's where my, weakness is, or the thing that I need to work on is. So I think it's really beautiful. And, what you're talking about is choosing to respond to something versus reacting to something.
Exactly. And the reaction version of me isn't who I really am. And that's why it's so important to me to not do that. Like, that's just not who I am. And that's why I feel like shit after those moments, because that's not me.
Yeah. And I think something we can do as we all walk through this in our own journey is give ourselves a lot of grace, because it's kind of like, when you teach a kid to ride a bike, you let him try it once and he fails, and you don't look at him like, oh my God, why did you fail that?
Exactly.
It's like you just figured out that this is a bike, and then you're beating yourself up for not riding it perfectly. And would you beat up a little child?
No. You will stumble. You will fall.
Yeah. So let's not beat up the little child inside of us. Let's give ourselves, grace as we're walking through these things. It's kind of like, just like riding a bike, like the more that you practice it, the more that you and something I always say is like, do a little snap. Like, if you recognize that it's that moment, there's something weird about like, just like bringing yourself to reality, like snap right there. And then you're like, okay. And then it's a choice, and you have to choose. Am I choosing option A or am I choosing option B? You know where option A usually leads because that's your normal pattern. And option B is the best version of yourself. And sometimes it's such a harder decision, especially in an argument, especially
Totally.
yeah, something like that. But like you really just, if you can just pause just for like a second to recognize the choice that you're about to make, you can literally just change the trajectory of everything.
Exactly.
I think just like you're saying, it's just being more self-aware, right? And we're all on that journey. And I think like this whole pandemic time and some people are calling it the great pause, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
I just know for me, it's definitely been a time that like I'm so much more self-aware just because I've had the time and space and opportunity like to figure those things out for myself,
Yeah.
right? And so I think like some of this, like of course horrible things have happened during the pandemic, but it's also been a time that I think is really important for a lot of us because we're so busy rushing from one thing to another. Like there is no pause button. There is no time for us to think option A, option B. We're just like trying to get there on time and find parking in
Wow,
LA,
that's
right?
so
Like-
true. That needs to be a one-liner. We're just trying to get there on time and find parking. Hashtag LA.
But like that's what it feels like all the time. You're constant go, always in such a rush. So many people, so much going on. You're just like so overstimulated. So that part of all of our journeys and like being self-aware and like being able to take that step and do something with it. I think like this pause that we've kind of been in has been a really good time. At least I know for me, just like finding some of those things for myself.
Yeah, man. Okay. So number one, Instagram sucks because I've not seen your actual feed page and I don't know how long because I went to your feed page today because I wanted to like, catch up with you a little bit. Your feed is beautiful. Oh my gosh. She's been traveling all over.
It's amazing.
Right?
I'm so jealous.
I know.
So jealous.
Nobody sees it. No, I don't know. It's nothing.
But anyways, it's beautiful. I'm low-key, high-key, very jealous. I want my feed to look like that.
Very.
More importantly than the feed, I want to go to these places.
Right?
Go ahead.
We need to plan something.
Yeah.
No,
I'm
but
down.
I honestly have. So once all the pandemic stuff happened, I'm working from home. I decided not to compete this year. So kind of changed my schedule at that. I'm like, all right, so I have more time on my hands. I have more money because competing is expensive.
Yeah.
So I have, since July, been taking some kind of trip out in nature somewhere at least once a month. And like, it has been literally the best thing I've done for myself in years.
Wow.
Like, just because giving yourself that time and space, like, there's so much self-awareness that comes when you do that and just like step away from all of the busyness. So all those beautiful places you're seeing, like, that's what I've been getting
Taking a
there.
deep breath. That's what I need right now.
Yes.
After November.
Yeah.
But that's definitely what I've been getting from a lot of my trips is just like space and like it's been
Peace.
helping me so
Oh
much.
my God.
Yeah.
That's incredible. What's been something good that has come out of this crazy year for you?
I think that there's been a lot of growth in my career and definitely in my own self, just because at the beginning of the pandemic it was really kind of just out of control and I felt really alone and like it was so stressful and my back was out and all of that. Like it was just it was horrible. I couldn't train, I couldn't do anything like that, the things that I would normally do to kind of relieve stress. So it was just I was really overloaded. And I think when I started to just really focus on taking care of myself, because you can't take care of anybody else until you take care of yourself, that's when things started getting better for me this year. So there was a moment there where I was just like, oh my God, what is happening?
Yeah.
It was upside down.
Like your life just felt really heavy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because I mean, I remember you sharing a little bit about like work and things like that and just how stressful it was. And I know there's a lot of people listening that they're currently in that position where work just feels so heavy, maybe so negative, so toxic. Maybe they're dealing with an injury as well. So how did you walk through that to now get to where you're at now?
It's really hard to I'm just gonna be honest. Like I was not positive throughout that entire thing, which is why I'm so focused on that now, because it's like one of those things when you finally start to get better, you realize, wow, I took that for granted, and I never realized how blessed I actually am. Like my back works, and like I can get up, and this and that, and like it's not a big deal. Now I see how it is a huge deal.
Yeah,
like,
wow.
It's a huge deal. So there's mornings now where I wake up and I'm just so grateful. I'm so blessed for the littlest things, like the littlest things. So
it kind of sounds like to me what this year gave you was just a new perspective and appreciation for life.
Like
That's awesome.
work can be crazy and it really doesn't affect me the same anymore.
Wow.
To be honest, at the same time, though, I did move to a different unit, and it is a little
Slight
less
changes,
crazy,
yeah.
but it is still a crazy place to be. And like a lot of, you have to remember that a lot of people have left the hospital setting with the pandemic. So we are very short staffed. So a lot of people are wearing different hats that they don't normally wear. And it's just, you're doing a lot more, but I'm still in this better place because I just realized how blessed I am to even just be able to move and like do those things and be that person and save a life and all that
And
kind
you
of stuff.
have,
So it's so cool. Like,
Well, I just want to say from myself and from all the listeners, thank you so much to everyone that is in the healthcare field and that does every position of every sort of hospital and healthcare and all of the above, because only you guys know what you've experienced during this time. We've only heard some hearsay, some personal stories and stuff, but you guys know what it's really like. And, you know, I think it's something that only nurses and only doctors and everyone in that field will really be able to understand. So truthfully, just thank you guys for what you're doing. Thank you for all the stuff that you put up with. I can't even imagine, like from like the actual job to what's being said online to the news to.
I have Tourette's when I watch the news most nights usually, so I can't.
Sweet Samantha over
Yeah,
there.
I do.
All of a
I
sudden
really
has
can't.
Tourette's.
I'm in the kitchen making something, screaming at the TV from the other room. I'm like, that's not true. That's not
seriously though, it's not.
It really
Let's
is.
just get that out there.
Yeah,
right now.
it's not.
Seriously, no, it's not.
But it's also a really fine line of being a healthcare professional. Like, how much are you really
Allowed to
to say? You know,
Yeah.
I definitely feel that. And
That-
I share with close friends and with family and stuff too, but people have such different opinions about it. Like, everyone appreciates what we're doing, but when it comes to actually sharing the facts, they don't always want to hear it, which is really hard. So I'm like, oh, I love you. Thank you. I appreciate what you've been doing. But no, actually, that's not true. I'm not going
Exactly.
to listen to what you have to
Oh,
say.
wow.
So it's kind of that double-edged sword. And you're like,
Does it
do
kind
you
of-
appreciate or not?
I was gonna say,
Like,
does it feel like a slap in the face?
Oh my
sometimes,
God.
yes.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
I
tell me.
walked out of the hospital and someone ran away from me.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Oh my god.
I felt like a leper.
Oh wow.
I was so upset. I was like,
Wow.
what?
Yeah. Wow.
Like, but no, seriously, because you said something
gloves
earlier.
Gloves. Can we talk about gloves for a second?
Wait, why are we talking about gloves?
Because they actually spread more infection
Yes,
than actually helping
100%.
anything. Literally,
100%.
we are not allowed to wear
Never.
gloves walking around the hospital,
Never.
yet everyone wears them at the
You're
grocery
never.
store.
You will be fired on the spot if you were to walk
You
out of
guys-
a room with a glove on.
I am deceased.
Like, it's
So,
So
if
when you're driving
if you're
and you
listening
look-
and you're wearing
Yeah.
gloves in your car, please
Yeah.
stop. It is
just
not.
stop. If you're in the grocery store wearing gloves, please.
Stop.
Like,
Yes.
okay.
So things like that.
In the name of truth.
Yes. Exactly. But I mean, it's hard because you don't know how much is appropriate to share, and you also like people are scared, so people
Yeah.
have very strong opinions about those things. So the woman screaming at me in the store for not wearing my gloves,
Oh
like, is that really a conversation that we want to have?
No, I couldn't imagine. Like, there's definitely some conversations where I realize there is no conversation to be had here, and I'm like, you know what? You're right. I'm gonna
Exactly.
leave.
But there's a lot of like peace in that to know, like, you know what? Don't you know what you know. You
Yeah.
don't have
So you don't have to prove it.
Exactly. You
Yes.
don't even have to have that conversation.
Exactly.
And you don't have to
You don't have to have the conversation, but
you don't have to ruin that relationship
Oh,
with
right.
that person.
That's
You know
such
what I
a good
mean?
point.
Like, because it will. Like, they
Yeah.
they're so strong in that opinion that like that could just start
Yeah.
something you don't really need to start. You can just keep it to yourself and know like we don't agree on that. Like,
Exactly. And kind of going off of that, you know, that's the same thing when people have different like political type of views, like people that you really care about and love. I find it's better just to not talk about it as well, especially when they're super strong in it. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, we're all adults. We're all trying to do the best that we possibly can. And we all have our own beliefs. And like, I just choose to be respectful that, hey, that's your belief and that's fine. But I know the line as well. I agree with you. I think sometimes it's not worth the conversation because you don't want to mess up that relationship, you know? And it's sad that that conversation potentially could. It's sad that that would happen, but you have to recognize when it would. Whereas there's definitely other relationships where you can have that open conversation of
Exactly.
completely differing views and it be okay.
Exactly.
But it is important to be aware. So I love that you bring that up.
Definitely. I think it's important to recognize too during all this, like, not only the conversations, but just our own judgments of people too.
Yes.
Because knowing that, like, just because you are fine and you're young and healthy and you don't have anyone at home that might be immunocompromised or somebody at risk, doesn't mean that that's the same reality for everybody else, right? So before, if I'm going down the street judging the people that are my age, that healthy and fit, I'm like, why are you wearing a mask, right? But I really shouldn't be doing that, because it's not my right to say, like, I have no idea what their experience is, where their fears are coming from, what their past is, what they have at home, who they're caring for, things like that. So I think it's really important to like take before you're doing those judgments, because we all are, when we have such big different opinions right now. Like, it's really important to like take a step back and realize that your reality is not the same as someone else's. So don't judge based on that.
Amen. Oh my gosh. So I have personal experience attached to this as well, because I would say like early on, I caught myself doing it. I try to be really self-aware, and most of the time I can catch myself when I'm being an asshole or being judgmental or whatever. I'm like, Emily, like in my head, trust me, I talk all about it. We have a conversation. I'm not crazy.
There's 2 Emilys up there,
Not
guys.
crazy, I promise. I'm a Gemini though, so it's fine.
Okay.
No, but I'll catch like a thought process in my head, and I'm like, hey, you have no right to think that, or to don't pretend that you know that. You know, one of the things that I try to live my life by is don't make assumptions. And so in that, I can't assume to know, like you said, where you're coming from, what you believe, who's at your home, who's at your house, or what your immune system looks like. There are people that look just like you and me who have super compromised immune systems, in which case you better take every single precaution, you know? So I just thank you for bringing that up. I agree 100%.
It's not the easiest thing to do. Like,
it's not,
especially with social media too, because right, like we might know a little more background of people in our family, friends, things like that. But social media, like, you see on there exactly what everyone wants you to see, and that's it. So there's so much judgment on there in general, and now you bring politics into the scene. It's just like getting so out of control.
I know. I'm so ready for November to be over.
I'm kind of scared, to be honest.
I think we're all a little nervous. I think we're all leaving though, right? Aren't we all leaving?
I feel like it's a mass exodus from California.
Well, I just mean for like
that
during that time,
yeah.
during
We've talked
that,
No,
during election.
We've definitely talked about it.
Yeah, I'm jetting out for sure.
Yeah.
But I want to switch gears a little bit. So we're going to get into some questions in just a minute, but I know that there was a lot of questions on a few topics. So the first one is body image and insecurities. So have you guys dealt with being insecure about your body image? And if so, like what has helped you work through that?
I like every girl, I'm sure, definitely. I'm 6'2", and I've been this height.
Oh shoot,
since
I said 6'1".
Okay,
you didn't correct me.
It's 6'1.5", so I should really round up, but I always just say. So we're actually 6'2".
Okay, I was like, correct me next time.
No, 6'2". And I've been this tall, lanky since I was in like 6th grade.
No,
right?
no, you have not. 6th grade.
Yes. So, which I was always athletic. I was always in sports, but like until college, I towered over every guy ever. Right, and it was it was the hardest thing. So I feel like I got to college and I was like, oh my God, there's a men's basketball team here.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to be just fine. But until then, I've always struggled with my height, and I've always been pretty thin. So really, like, finding bodybuilding and training in that way has been something that has helped with my body image, not just because I've changed my body, but it's like you're taking the time out to do something healthy for your body. You're doing something that makes you feel strong and empowered, and like, just the feelings that I get from training has definitely transitioned into so much more and how I feel about my body too. And I definitely recognize too, like, yes, there's altercations and things that you can do and all these different things, but I feel like I've been the most proud being like, I built that. Like, I'm so freaking proud of that. So that's definitely something that I think has helped with any of my like body image stuff and insecurity, like feeling really empowered and badass. Like, that's the best.
It's so badass.
Yeah. What about you?
We built this.
Yeah.
That's so
that's
cool.
right.
Yeah, no, that's the coolest thing. So I guess I've had many insecurities. I was really overweight at one point in my life.
That's right. You made a big transformation.
So it's like, yeah, I've lived on both ends of that. And I've had many moments where I've just been uncomfortable. I've had them recently in July. I gained probably about 25 pounds over the pandemic, and I'm starting to lose it now, and I'm feel good. But like, you don't feel good when you're not really taking care of yourself. And part of the reason why I wasn't taking care of myself was because I was injured. But like, it really starts to get to you. And I had many insecurities over that time. And how I processed it was just focusing on rehabbing myself to get back to where I can be comfortable in my own body. But like, yeah, I don't think we're ever really like
fixed
yeah,
kind of thing.
You know what I mean? Like you're always going to work on it. You're always going to work on it.
I agree. So especially with like bodybuilding for me, you know, we know with bodybuilding, your body goes through a bunch of different stages from super lean to not lean to everything in between. And I've definitely had those moments where, you know, you go from being super staged lean to something that I'm just going to say it out loud because every girl's thinking it. You feel fat.
Yeah.
Like you feel.
And you're not.
And you're not.
Yes. And you're not.
So one of the things my friends told me and that I'll always remember is like feelings are not fact, but you are entitled to your feelings. Right? So like I'm a woman, I'm allowed to say that I felt fat or I feel fat sometimes yesterday. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We have feelings and that's okay. And so, you know, what I've done in those really hard body image days or times is number one, I ask myself, like, what am I focusing on right now at this moment in time? Am I heavily focusing on what I look like in the mirror, like so much to where I'm like hyper focusing on it and picking myself apart? And when in reality, like my, you know, body fat level does not determine my self-worth. My body fat level does not determine, you know, who I am or what I can do in the world. And so when I find that I'm hyper focusing on that for whatever reason, I just switch my focus. I'm like, okay, whatever you focus on, you create more of. I'm focusing on the body that I'm not super happy with right now. So I'm going to create more of that if I sit here and just focus on it. Instead, I'm going to take some time away from the mirror if I'm really, you know, focusing on it too much. And I'm going to focus on something like my performance in the gym. I'm going to focus on feeling good from the inside out. And honestly, maybe not even looking at the scale, maybe not even looking at the mirror, but really focusing on like being kind and nice to my body and doing what I know will produce the results that I'm after. So if I do want to be a little bit tighter, feel a little bit better about myself and my clothes, then I'm going to drink more water. I'm going to choose nutritious foods, not because I want to eat the less calories, but just because that's what's going to get me closer to my goal. And that's what's going to fuel my body and make me feel good. So I found that it's, you know, the whole body image and being self-conscious thing, it definitely is a mindset. And when you can recognize that you have these unhealthy mindsets and patterns, then it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier. You're self-aware. So then you can say, oh, let me just switch the narrative that I have on in my head. You know, and totally. I know that's something you guys have done too, is like whenever, like in an off season, which we don't really ever take off, like, especially all of us, like we literally, yes, like there is no off season. Yeah. But like, sometimes you got to switch your focus a little bit.
Yeah. Switch your focus. I think it's also important when you're having that negative spiral about what's going on with your body, whatever, just start, like, pick small things that you're going to do for yourself and like show up for yourself. Like maybe you just haven't been having the motivation to go to the gym and do this stuff, but like you can go for a walk for 15 minutes around the block and like
take a bath.
Yeah,
you
and
can do a face mask.
Yeah,
you
keep
can,
that
like,
promise
take care
for
of
yourself, right?
Yeah.
And like just you can go get a bagel or you can have like make a decision. So just like giving yourself that time to make a choice about like the things that you're doing to care for your body. Like if you actually do and have it be a conscious choice of you're going to eat this, you're going to do this, like that's definitely like that's you take your power back in that way when you're making the conscious choices versus just letting the scale be the only thing that you're determined things by, letting how your genes fit be the only thing that you're worried about. Like no, like maybe I'm not there yet, but I made a choice about what I ate for breakfast today, and I'm going to make a choice to show up for myself and go for my walk later and whatever it is. It like
all adds like it's like wealth. Like you're adding it all up. It's like picking up change off the floor. Like that's exactly how I kind of see it. Like all those little things are adding up to where you need to go.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like you're really deep in that funk and you're really super focused on it. So I think picking small things that you can make a choice of, that you do have control over, that's how you get yourself out of it, because just those little small wins every day is how you create momentum. And that's how you're going to get ultimately to your goal and to that body image or whatever it is that you want. Just like create some momentum to help you get there.
It's so true. I was listening to a podcast one time and I remember it was the first time that I heard someone refer to the way that you eat, like your diet or something. They referred to it as just like something like 100 and something choices a day They said that's how many choices you're making. But whether it's like the seasoning you're adding or the ingredient or this or that, you're making all these decisions. And a lot of people just kind of go throughout their life like just throwing things in a pan and and they don't realize like all the little conscious decisions they're making. Like, hey, I don't need to put a whole thing of barbecue sauce on this chicken. Let me do like a little bit less. You know, that's a conscious choice, and like that adds up. So I agree with that. Like, it's just taking power of those choices and celebrating yourself for those small choices that right now may seem insignificant, but in the long run, it's what gets you to your goal.
Yeah, no, and you like shared or posted something of forever ago, just sharing one of your icon meals and that you had finished, and that saying that like you think that that was the meal that's going to be the one that ultimately gets you to Olympia, gets you on stage. Like, no, it's not. It's not the week before. It's not the month before. It's a year before. It's 6 months before. It's showing up for yourself like consistently.
I knew you were.
No, it was great, but it's
me.
showing up for yourself consistently. So like you talk about body image and insecurities, like you deal with that stuff by showing up for yourself consistently on a day-to-day basis. And whether that is caring for your health, caring for something that makes you feel pretty, whatever it is, just show up for yourself and give yourself some love. And like when you look in the mirror, you're going to feel a lot more confident.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. How do you guys deal with comparison, especially with social media?
Filters are the worst.
Agreed.
Let's just go right
They
there.
suck. Like, have you guys ever been like wanting to get on Instagram story and then you don't because you, one, don't want to use a filter, and two, you feel like you don't look
good enough.
Good enough.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say it.
all the time.
No, I've just been using really obnoxious filters lately. So I'm like, there's no, I don't have pink hair. Like, this is not.
I don't really go on the stories though to be saying anything lately. So I'm just like, But at the same time, I have that moment where I'm like, well, why don't I say no?
No, but just comparison. It's so hard not to feel that way when you're looking at social media and all these things on there. But I think the most important thing to remember is that everything, everyone's feed, everyone's story, it's all curated, and we see exactly what they want us to see at exactly the right angle, in the right lighting, at the right time, all of these things. Like, and I think as competitors too, like, you know how to work your angles, right? I can look real great or not so much, right? And just like knowing that I can do that for myself, you bet your ass you realize that everyone else is doing the same thing.
So true.
So just like taking a step back and realizing like, I know I can play the game. So do you think they're not doing it either?
Yeah, 100%. I know sometimes I've gotten on my stories and I've had this thought process, but I consciously sometimes will decide to I just choose to do it anyways. And I'm like, screw it, this is my face. And I start recording, and I start doing my story, and I'm just like, whatever, and it's crazy. People will respond and be like, oh, wow, like your reel is like pretty. You know what I mean? Like they recognize it's not, they're not like it. I guess I'm like losing my words. Like they basically just recognize that it's like the real version of me, and they're like that's like really cool. You know what I mean? And I know for myself, when I see that on other people's stories, I think it's so beautiful. I don't think you're less pretty because you're not smoothed over in your face. Like exactly. I never think that when I see someone's story.
Yes, never ever. Like I mean, really, when you're looking at stories, do you catch yourself being like, oh my God, she needs to stop with the filters? You think that a lot more than you think.
True.
Then you recognize like, oh, she looks bad because she doesn't have makeup on.
That's
like
true.
We're not thinking that.
Right.
The people that are showing up and being real and authentic, like those are the ones that you gravitate towards.
So true. And like, I'm not hating on filters. I use them. I still like them, especially if I'm like, you know what? It's been a long day. We need the heaviest filter. And I'll even talk about it. I'm like, give me that face alteration. Yes. Not really, but like kind of, you know what I mean? Where it's like, sometimes it just allows you to show up there. But I do think there's like a healthy balance to have with it. And I think you should also be self-aware to understand when it's actually affecting what you think about yourself. So if you do come on and you're on that reverse cam and you're like, wow,
only thing can be a filter.
Yeah, or like
you
or like you think like, wow, I don't look good, or I don't look. If you're just constantly thinking that should alert you to like, hey, I need to like take a little break from this, or I need to like, take some photos of myself with no filter and like remind yourself like how beautiful you are because of who you are. And like you look the way that you look for a reason. And like, I think it's one of those things where we have to remind ourselves that, like, for example, when I look at you, I don't need you to be like this perfect version of you. I think you're such an amazing person because of who you are. Like your spirit brights up like everything, and same with you, And so I think if we can really remind ourselves of that, then we can kind of come back to reality to realize like these filters are all bullshit.
Yeah.
It is.
It's all
It
bullshit.
is.
Just
I will thank the virus times for, like, there's a little makeup on right now, but literally the amount of makeup that's been happening the last 6 months
Yeah.
has been awesome.
Yeah.
And I feel like if a year ago, I would never leave the house without mascara on, right? And you become like so accustomed to seeing yourself that way.
Oh, wow.
Seeing yourself, just like you're saying, like you see yourself with the filter, you see that self, that those people online and what everyone looks
Yeah.
like. But if you actually like take a step back and now stop wearing so much makeup just because we've been stuck at home all the time, and suddenly that face you see in the mirror without the makeup, it doesn't look so bad anymore because you're, I don't know, maybe you're
I'm
just
loving the no makeup
delusional.
look from
Maybe
everyone.
you're, but no, you're more used to it. But just if you're constantly on social media and all you're ever doing is looking at those faces and
Yeah.
comparing yourself there, of course you're going to be really hard on yourself too.
I love when people look different, though, to be honest. When they are all starting to look the same, it's just like really boring.
Yeah, and it's not really reality because if you were all to just like get inside of a room together,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I don't know, you'd be able to appreciate each other's differences instead of all
Totally.
trying to look the same.
Exactly. I mean, and let's face it, a lot of the people you see on social media, when you see them in real life, it doesn't really look the same.
Yeah, yeah, and that's
That's what.
honestly maybe it's a pride or an ego thing, but that's the other thing is like maybe that's why I have such a healthy balance with like filter no filter because I'm like I'd be a little embarrassed if someone thought that I was way prettier than I actually am. Like I'm like nope, this is it. This is all you're getting. You know what I mean?
You're not trying to catfish everyone. here.
Exactly. just like 3 times a week.
Yeah, totally fine. Totally fine.
The honesty.
After leg day, it's okay.
Oh, 100%. Leg day, you can use all the filters.
I feel like I need to use a filter. I haven't been on a story with a filter
Oh
in a
my God,
while.
they've gotten better.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't like the outrageous ones, to be
Yeah,
honest.
no.
I like the ones that just a little subtle.
Like the ones that are like, I can't tell, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. But then it has the little notice right up there. Okay, someone asked, how do you all deal with society's pressure on women's bodies to look perfect?
Yeah.
This is,
I know.
Yikes.
we're all like, eek.
Well, yeah,
worse.
'cause it's-
I mean, I feel like kind of back to, I think what has helped me with body image stuff to begin with, like I felt the more strong and the most confident in my body when I'm taking care of myself and I'm doing my training.
Oh, that's so true.
I feel like I care less and less what everyone is thinking when I'm like, do you know what I can do with this booty? Do you like, right? When you feel strong, like,
Yeah.
then I think like making the body that you have be something more than just about looks, like then you care a lot less about what everyone thinks.
So true.
Is what I've been finding.
And you find yourself along that road while you're building yourself.
Yeah.
What you see that's cool, but what you're building inside is so much more. And it really is something that I didn't even know was part of it until like way deep into it.
Totally. And I think that's a lot of people's experience, especially when they're, new to health and fitness. They get into it for the aesthetic reasons, like a lot of us
Definitely.
do. And then like you're open up to this whole new beautiful world. A whole new world.
Yeah, you realize that it's not just about looks. Like it feels really badass when you
Yeah.
feel strong and you like hit a PR and you like can challenge yourself and do something you've never done. Like when you start doing that with your fitness journey, then you stop caring so much what it looks like.
Those days that Doug kills you in the gym.
Yeah, we all know
You're
those.
like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah, it's so true.
You find a power that like you didn't even know you had inside of you.
It's crazy because yes, it's like, bodybuilding or training or working out, whatever it is. But truthfully, you're building all these things that are irreplaceable, like self-worth and confidence, self-respect, discipline, structure, all these things that really do affect like every other aspect of your life. Like I know that I'm my best when I'm being my most disciplined, like in my gym, my training, my diet, and that carries on to my business and my relationships and things like that. So we did get a few questions on relationships. So on toxic relationships and leaving them. So do you guys have any experience with that from yourself or from people you've worked with or?
Definitely.
You do?
Yeah.
So do you want to share a little bit?
I think that once you notice that something's toxic, I don't understand how anybody can stay in something. Because it's like once your attention, you're aware of it. It's just you know that it's not right, and then as soon as you leave, you find a freedom, and you realize that you don't have to be with everybody. You don't have to go to every single thing. You don't have to do all of those things. You know what you want to do, and you're supposed to find that, and that's how you find that, by leaving toxic relationships. You find yourself more.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it's really hard for people because oftentimes when you're in a toxic environment, there is kind of like this trauma bond thing between the two of you. And sometimes it's addicting. It's kind of like,
No, it can be, or especially if you have a lot of history together, right? You've been through so much. You were by my side through all of these things, right?
Right.
And I just feel like, and I know for me in the past, that's definitely been, well, we've been together this many years. I've helped you through this. I'm going to stay here. And eventually, like, you have to decide, are you just going to keep making excuses for this other person and a reason to stay in this relationship? Are you going to step into like doing what's good for yourself?
yeah.
And that's not selfish. It's not selfish if you, in whatever relationship, if you're not getting what you need and you're being clear and communicating with your partner about what those needs are and they're not being met, that's not something that's wrong with you. That's something that it's okay and you're allowed to move on and you know, not be in that toxic setting anymore.
Yeah, and I think it's hard because a lot of people, they know, like they're asking, should I leave this toxic relationship, or you know, is it, like, they know, like most people, they know that they're in a toxic relationship. They know that the right option is to leave, but a lot of people
I feel they're afraid to be alone.
Yeah.
Or just not have that person to talk to, or whatever it is, the intimate relationship or whatever it is. I think that there's a lot of people that are just really afraid to be alone, to feel themselves and to think about what really is going on in their own life.
Wow.
Like, it's a distraction.
It's so true.
Yeah.
See what I mean? When she just like opens up
No,
with things,
right?
and you're like, girl.
Wow, Yoda over here.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it's so real though. And I think people, they don't want to suffer the momentary instant pain of having to actually separate for the future better version of themselves. Because that's the thing. That's the choice that they're making. They're making, this is toxic, but it's comfortable. I've been here before. I know what it's like. I know what to expect. And there's some sort of like comfortability in that.
What do we know about comfortable? There's no growth.
Yeah.
When you get out of that and you feel all that pain, there's so much growth in those moments.
So true. I mean, it's true. Like, I think about my most painful moments and the hard heartbreaks and things that you go through. Dude, I don't ever want to feel that stuff again. But at the same time, it was the most like growing experience.
You wouldn't take it away. Like, there's so much you
I don't
learn
know
from
if I could
it.
erase some of it. Maybe I would. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, I probably wouldn't. Like, I really wouldn't.
I agree. I agree with that. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, look, yes, you're absolutely going to go through a lot of pain. Make sure, you know, have at least like one person that you can count on or call. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a family member. You don't need a whole swarm of people. Some people, you don't have that, and that's okay. But if you have one person you can be really honest with, so that you can text on your hardest days and say like, look, I'm down in the dumps. Like, I need help. Or like, hey, I'm not doing good. Like, you got to be able to have that with one person. Know that you're going to walk through some heavy days, but you're going to come out of it so much better, so much stronger. You're going to learn so much, and you're not going to repeat that same kind of pain as long as you choose to grow from it.
Absolutely. I think that's in the hard times and like walking away from relationships like that. Like, that's where the transformation happens.
Definitely.
And you that painful time and those hard times, like, that's what you need to happen so you can grow. So then the next relationship you're in, you're bringing your best self and you're bringing your whole self, right? So when those toxic relationships end, like, you need to recognize, like, why was I staying in this? Like, what was happening here? And like, that's the time that you do work and sort those things out for yourself, so you're not bringing it into the next relationship.
Oh, that's
so I think that, like, after the toxic relationship, that period of growth and self-development is like really, really important.
Huge.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And it's, again, it comes down to just making a choice that, okay, I know full well what I'm about to walk into, pain, hardship, and a lot of growth. It's going to be uncomfortable. But it's kind of like setting your expectations, right? Like, I know what this is going to be. It's going to be a hard season, but I'm going to choose to walk through it, and I'm going to choose to come out better because of it. Because here's the thing, when things happen in life, you can either let it make you bitter or make you better, you know? So like, you just have to choose. Like, and I'm talking about the moments when you're on your kitchen floor, you're crying, you're by yourself. You just have to tell yourself, I choose better. I choose better. Like, make it make you better. Yeah. So, okay. So we're going to wrap up in just a few minutes here. But I want to hear, what are some of your goals coming up, or what is something that you're focusing on? It could be like competing, it could be career, it could be life, what you're focusing on, but kind of like, what's next for you? What are you excited about?
I definitely want to compete again in 2021. So like, just going to be continuing off season, hoping to be building. like I said earlier, I've really been enjoying my meditation practice, and I was actually looking into and wanting to start teaching some classes and stuff on my own.
Oh, fun.
I will go.
Yeah. Will
So
it
you
be
guys will
online?
meditate?
Yeah.
I haven't decided yet. So the classes will be online, and then I'm gonna figure out like how I'll run what I'm
That's
gonna
awesome.
do. It's gonna be
Fun.
Zoom,
Oh my
or
God,
we'll
you're
see when the
perfect
world
for that.
opens. But I really felt like as I'm in some of these, I'm like, I could definitely do this.
Yeah.
Like, so anyway, so I'm gonna start doing that just because with enjoying some of that stuff more and some of my traveling and spirituality things I've been interested in lately, like it's definitely something I think I would really enjoy. So just gonna start focusing on that, and then with my career as far as being at the hospital, really just trying to get through this year.
Yeah.
For me, I love helping my patients. I'm so grateful for the opportunity and everything that I have at UCLA, but it's ultimately like not where I want to be forever. I'm definitely more interested in doing something more in the health and fitness realm and things like that. So just kind of making that slow transition and kind of going from there. So
That's
we'll see what
awesome. I'm
happens.
excited for you. And we will definitely support your meditation.
Oh, thanks.
Of course.
Well, you know why we're friends. We have a lot of things in common. But I'm actually Okay, so by the end of this year, I'm going per diem. I'm gonna have a lot more time to figure out what else I want to do. I have a couple things I've been thinking about. I do want to start maybe training clients, and me and
Oh my
Doug
gosh,
are going to be working
yes.
together.
Yes.
And we hopefully in the future we have plans. I'm not going to mention that now, but like maybe start like a business together where we're training clients, we're doing their health and wellness and all that kind of stuff. But the first step is to train clients, and the first step is to have more time to train clients.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at right now, and I'm just so excited because I finally have that opportunity coming up. And as far as, never mind, can't really talk about it.
Okay. That's
I
okay.
can't talk about it because I'm not supposed to know about it. So.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh,
Oh.
we know.
We know. Yay.
But yeah, so
Okay.
lots of really good things are coming.
We are so influencer right now. Lots of good
Lots
things
of good
coming.
things. Stay
Stay
tuned.
tuned. Well, girls, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you guys so much for being on the show. I know.
Thank you for having
That was
us.
awesome.
This was so fun.
Oh, I'm so glad. So for all the listeners and everyone on YouTube, I will put all of their links below. So do me a favor, go follow them on Instagram. Make sure you tag them on Instagram when you watch the episode, and reach out to them and let them know what you thought about it and what was most impactful for you. And if there is any way that you guys can possibly support them at maybe it's a meditation class, maybe it's coming to Torrance, California to train with them, Doug and Danielle, then do it because you'll love it. These are my friends and you guys will love them. I promise. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to another episode. I will see you in the next episode of Evolve with Emily.
Thank you.
Bye,